maturity to know where you can really push and you know, try to go for that virtuosic type playing, but knowing the maturity of when to do it, when to not to do it, and how much the song can take. A lot of the late 50s and early 60s Miles Davis records, you know, they're really hip. I'm trying to learn more about that, where I can, you know, learn more of the chord stuff, you know. When I go home at the end of the day and I put on this Miles Davis record and I go, man, how can you get this to have that same kind of quality, you know, no matter what kind of music you play, but that same kind of tonality quality, you know, and that's what is interesting to me now. I spent a long time thinking, oh, the studio's so different than live, you know, and so if you ascribe to that kind of concept too much, I think that it can kind of lead you down a wrong path. I think it kind of got me all kind of screwed up, because I was like, no, the studio's where you experiment, it's a laboratory, and you sit there and you do this part, and then you add on that, and you overdub on that, which is true, I mean, it is, but if you take that out of context, which I started to do, then you just like put your just, you know, like connecting the dots, you know, instead of painting a picture. And so I really think that, you know, in a way that the live and the studio should be exactly the same, except for the fact that one has the embellishment of that reciprocity from the crowd, and the other has that embellishment of you can add little extra brush strokes to what you created. But the fundamental thing, I think, in the best situation would be a immediacy and an actualization of what you're playing. You know, just, you know, actualize that in the moment. Trying to get a little bit, as far as technically, I'm trying to learn to get where I'm feeling that, if you talk to violin players, they talk about the sweet spot where it's really important that their finger connects with the string just right. It makes a world of difference because you're dealing with an acoustic thing. And so there is really kind of a sweet spot on the guitar too, the way your finger hits the string and the way you pick, you know, just I'm trying to zero in on to get that a little cleaner, and at the same time learn on the scales, you know, and be able to play through chord changes, you know. Just sit there and like play out of one scale, you know, try to kind of work it all together or something. That's kind of what I'm working on now. It's just kind of become a household thing at this point, I guess. Everybody seems to play, so. I knew that when I was on some flight on an airline, and you know, the magazines are in the front of it, you know, oh, and there's a Stratocaster on the front of the airplane, like American Airlines, and it says 40th anniversary of the Fender Stratocaster. I thought, man, things have changed. I mean, it used to be like that was like an esoteric thing. You played a guitar and people didn't even know what they looked like. You know, now it's like almost everybody has one in their house at some point. I wonder if it'll change. You know, in the 50s it was the or the 40s it was the saxophone. It enjoyed the same kind of attention that the guitar did in the 60s and on to now. So who knows? Maybe it'll be something different in the future. I don't know. Or maybe somebody will come along like Jimi Hendrix and totally turn around our concept of how it should be played.
a 65, I believe, and it's like pretty beat up. Got the good, nice rosewood neck, which is, I think, where the tone comes from, is that dark wood. And the original front pickup, which is the only one I ever used. Otherwise, it can take the beatings too on the airplanes and the road. It's just where the soul is for me. You know, it's just, if you get here, you might as well be wailing, you know. It's almost like a telly there to me, especially there. But there, they just get a swampy little sound from me, you know. It's like I can play warm with it, soulful, or hard and just knocking the tent down with it, you know. And the other ones, like I got a few old Gibsons and things, but they only sound one way, you know. This one goes with the voice with me all night. I can make it do things. I got a couple of 58 Strats that I've got one totally original 58 that I just keep put up, but Waylon Jennings give it to me, you know, the country artist. And he's a good friend of mine, and he came to Memphis one time, and back in his really outlaw days, when they were really happening within him. Him and his wife come out to our house and spend the night, and we was talking, hanging out. About 1 in the morning, he said, you play those Strat, don't you? I said, yeah. He said, you like them? I said, yeah. He went out in his car, and he was so Cadillac, and he opened up the trunk, and there lay this case, an old tweed case. He opened it up, and it was a sunburst like this, but original, had been bought and put under a bed. He found it in Phoenix. And he said, I don't like them things, man. He said, I like a Telecaster. I said, what you gonna do with it? He said, I thought maybe I could give it to you. I went, oh man. So I've still got it, but I don't travel with it. But it was so funny, I'm going, you know, I don't like this crap. I've got the old Blues DeVille 410s, and I've still got the original old Boomerang wah, the Whomper. And then I've got an old thing, it's called a Color Tone. I got it in London, England back in '69 or something like that. It's an old fuzz, but it has a howling sensation to it with the Boomerang plugged through it. So you got them both. And then there's an overdrive on the amp, which, you know, just to kind of give it a little gear as the night moves along, and Skeleton Crew. Oh, I found out she was an undercover agent on the blues.
Well, this is sort of the ancestor of the National. This is the earliest design for an acoustic Hawaiian guitar. And basically, the Hawaiian guitar is a strange and unique instrument. First of all, it's like playing guitar with one finger that you can't bend. And it was invented about 110 years ago in Hawaii, starting out just using a normal guitar, and then Joseph Kekuku, the main guy who gets the credit for inventing it, figured out that if you raise the action and use a heavier bar, you start to get a better, more flowing sound. The idea is no frets, it's all... And it kind of grew out of slack key guitar, which was Hawaiians using borrowed guitars from imported Mexican cowboys who were working in Hawaii in the 1830s to the 1860s. They took the guitars, tuned them to open tuning, and started to play a finger-picking style of Hawaiian song. And the earliest Hawaiian playing sounds something like that with the accompaniment and the melody. So maybe something like this. As the instrument progressed, it changed, and there was about a 20-year period where these things were being used, then the Nationals came in, then the electric steel, then 7-string, 8-string, 10-string, 2 necks, 3 necks, 4 necks, pedal steel, and all that happened in just a few decades. So I'm kind of stuck in the early period as far as the instruments I like. The tunings became more and more sophisticated, and as that happens, you have less and less to do with the bar. But for me, this instrument is what really taught me about that whole muscle thing, about expressing yourself with your muscles, because it's a very exposed instrument. There's just a millimeter between ecstasy and agony on this instrument. If you play a beautiful song and you're out a little bit, it's awful. Like, let's see, Silent Night. I mean, it's just, and that's just off by 2 millimeters maybe. Let's make it 1 millimeter. It might be even worse. And it's just painful. So it's a very exposed instrument, and you have to really watch it. By the late 1920s, the guys that were playing the Nationals started listening more to jazz and ragtime and getting more flashy with it, playing, you know. Sort of more ragtimey swing kind of playing. Louis Armstrong had a steel player in his band in 1929 for a few records, and it really went around the world. And I use this for all kinds of music. I play blues on here. The Indian sound is really great on here. I figured out a way to imitate the sitar by turning the bar a different way. Of course, in Indian music, there's a lot more discipline than we have in the West. A typical Indian lesson might be, do this for a year. After a year, then you can go. But, you know, we in the West are more like, well, gee, I just want to push this button, and where's my record deal now, you know? That's, so I try to find a balance between those two ways of thinking.